Yes and no. I mean, it's in many ways a national election. And we don't expect in every case that state realities of today will be reflected in the outcome in the national election. There is also the undeniable fact that the number of states you mentioned is certainly going to go up by the end of this year when the Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh elections take place, where all the polls suggest that we are way ahead. The final thought worth making is that what are the 2019 elections about? It is about what kind of national government people want to live under. And it seems to me that a government which has failed spectacularly to keep every single promise that its leaders so eloquently made in the last campaign is going to face a challenge when asking the same voters once again for their votes. A young person who, for example, was promised a job and never saw one even on the horizon is not likely to be fooled twice. I think it's been very clear, and frankly, it's something that I've been saying for the last 4 years in the place, which is that we need a clear signal from the top. Taking refuge behind the idea that law and order is a state subject and therefore it's not the central government's concern is appalling, because it is absolutely beyond debate that the forces that have been emboldened by the victory of the BJP and Modi, the forces that are loosely described as the Sangh Parivar, are the ones behind all of this. The Gaurakshak societies are essentially parts of the Sangh Parivar and their fellow travelers. The violence is committed in the name of protecting the cow, which is itself an idea that has been unleashed by the leadership that's now in power today. So we have to say very clearly, unless a clear signal comes from the very top, from the Prime Minister to begin with, from his ministers and his party leadership, that they do not condone this kind of behavior, that the excesses, the violence, the tragedies we have seen are simply not what they are about, it will continue and it will accelerate. I am struck by the fact that in Obama's case, for example, if there was a high school shooting, he was immediately on national television in America to reassure the public, to express his anguish, and to share the pain of the victims. We have never seen Prime Minister Modi doing anything of that, even though there have been incident after incident, killing after killing, that really rips apart the fabric of our society. And to my mind, that example should have started from the top. Below that, of course, there are others who could do it. The party itself should send word in every district that it's present in, saying that that the message should go out that this will not only not be tolerated, but there will be swift punishment if anybody takes the law into his own hands, even in the name of a holy cause like cow protection. Holy cause within quotes. The fact is that unfortunately, they are not doing that. Look, I believe it was spontaneous, but I think it actually had a tremendous effect on the narrative, because the way the media works, the next day stories, whatever Rahul Gandhi had said, would have all been about Mr. Modi. That's the way we have seen in the mainstream media now for some time in the last 4 years. However, once Rahul surprised everybody, including Mr. Modi, with that hug, it was inescapable for any journalist with news sense. It was on the front page of every newspaper, and it shifted the narrative. So to my mind, it was a masterstroke, spontaneously thought of, because it also illustrated the point that he was making, which is that we are not a party of hatred, we are a party of love, whereas sadly they are a party of hatred, and that's something which we've already addressed in the previous question you asked. My gut instinct on all of this, by the way, is that the nation has at least two kinds, and possibly more, but two kinds of voters looking at that. Those who think through the issues, analyze them, read the newspapers like the Hindu, and come to their independent conclusions. And then there are those who are carried away by impressions, whether it's impressions on television, impressions on WhatsApp, impressions of Facebook memes and posts and so on. And maybe their feeling is more gut, or even more superficial if you want. It may not be particularly cerebral, but that too becomes an extremely important element of our voting bank. And I think Rahul Gandhi reached them all through his gesture. So am I. I mean, in fact, if anything, I'm proud of the fact that I've initiated this discussion through particularly my book Why I'm a Hindu, about the fact that there are many Hindus in the Congress Party who are proud Hindus, but who see a very inclusive kind of Hinduism, the Hinduism that Swami Vivekananda preached, which was a Hinduism that went even beyond tolerance to acceptance, acceptance of difference. And to my mind, that is key to the kind of Hindu ethos that has made Muslims and Christians and Sikhs and Jews and Jains and everyone feel safe in our country. Because they knew that this overwhelming majority of Hindus accepted them and accepted their right to be who they were. So that is first of what I'm saying. Secondly, the two statements that you paraphrased. Number one, in a speech in which I was asked to address by the organizers the topic of challenges to Indian democracy and secularism. The biggest challenge to Indian democracy and secularism clearly is the rejection by the BJP Sangh Parivar ideologues of the entire constitutional basis for Indian democracy. They have taken the view that this country needs a Hindu Rashtra. In fact, Deen Dayal Upadhyay, who is the ideologue whom Prime Minister Modi most refers to, and Prime Minister Modi had even instructed every single ministry of the government to hold a seminar on the thoughts of Deen Dayal Upadhyay. This gentleman, who is in many ways an interesting intellectual figure and somebody I've engaged with in my book, he said specifically that the constitution should be torn up and discarded on two grounds. First, that it's full of imported Western ideas written by Anglophile lawyers in the wrong language. And that happens to be true. There's nothing we can do about it, but that's one objection. The second and more far-reaching objection is that the constitution should be discarded because it rests on a false premise. What is that false premise? He says it has the wrong idea of what is a nation. The constitution assumes that the nation called India is a territory called India and all the peoples living on it. Wrong, he says, a nation is not a territory, it's a people. And the people of India are the Hindu people. And the constitution should have been written for the Hindu people and for the Hindu Rashtra. Now that idea is fundamentally troubling. Because under that idea, it means that everybody who is not a Hindu or not willing to identify himself or herself as a Hindu is unwelcome. They're either a guest or an interloper. And aside from Jews and Parsis, whom the Hindu Rashtra elements are quite willing to accept in their midst, the others, notably the Muslims and Christians, have a real sort of acceptance problem, to put that, to use Vivekananda's word, with these people. And you cannot suddenly write off, almost 20% of your population in this way. To my mind, it's a very dangerous idea. When our nationalist movement was fighting for independence from the British, it divided in two. Not on other kinds of ideology, but on the fact that one group said that religion should be the determinant of nationhood. That was the idea of Pakistan. And another that said we are fighting for the rights of everybody, and that was the idea of India. Now, India reflects that idea still for the last 70 years. Pakistan reflects their idea in worse form and in a way that the whole world and whole of us in India have seen and we reject and I hope are critical of. So why would these people create and advocate an idea which is a mirror image of Pakistan's? That was my point. So my point was not saying that Hindus are in any way like Pakistan. It was a rejection of Pakistan and an assertion of the idea that the majority of Indian Hindus would not want to be like Pakistan because we fought for a different freedom struggle. Therefore, I said, will the BJP remove this challenge to Indian democracy and secularism by giving up the idea of Hindu Rashtra? No BJP spokesman has yet turned around and said, yes, we give up Hindu Rashtra, we stick to the constitution. The Prime Minister says the constitution is his holy book, but he also says that Deen Dayal Upadhyay is his ideologue. Now, the two ideas are incompatible in the same sentence. If the Prime Minister were to say, I admire Deen Dayal Upadhyay, but I disagree with him on the constitution, then the debate is over. But he's never said that, even though I've explicitly raised this issue. As for the Hindu Taliban, what I said was a question. After the Hindu Pakistan episode, the BJP youth wing vandalized my office and they shouted slogans saying that they would kill me or I should go to Pakistan. So I said, very frankly, who are they to decide that I can't live in this country and I must go to Pakistan? I said, is it because they feel I'm not their kind of Hindu? I said this in Malayalam speech. And I said, are they now starting a Taliban in Hinduism? That was my question. Which meant, are they starting some sort of group which actually can dare to say you're not Hindu enough for us, go to Pakistan. I mean, who gave them the right to? That was my speech. It was certainly a rhetorical question. I don't believe that there is a Hindu Taliban, but I do believe there are elements in the Sangh Parivar who, through their behavior, are echoing the excesses that we know, that we associate with the Taliban. So that's the very important thing. The BJP is competing for the Hindutva votes. Hinduism is not Hindutva. Hinduism is a religious identity of 80% of our population. Hindutva is a political ideology of, I dare say, 20% of our population. I think the 31% Mr. Modi got included a certain percentage of people who said he is the CEO of Gujarat Inc. and he's going to be the general manager of the Indian economy if we make him Prime Minister. They were not Hindutva inclined. Hindutva is a political ideology. I don't agree with it. They don't agree with me. Put them aside. It may be that those 20% who believe in Hindutva are part of the 80% who are calling themselves Hindus. But there is another 60% of Hindus who haven't either thought about it very much or who are being deceived into believing that as good Hindus they must support Hindutva. We need to fight that. And the only way we can fight it is not by ceding space to the BJP to assert that this entire struggle is between good Hindus and godless secularists. Because once you're on that wicket, the godless secularist will never prevail over the good Hindu in seeking the votes of other Hindus. So what I would say is, we are secular in the sense that we want the state to be distant from religion. We are secular in the sense that we don't want a Hindu Rashtra. But that does not mean that we have no personal religion ourselves. There are very many Hindus in the Congress party. Arguably, as with the rest of India, we have a majority who are Hindu in the Congress party. But as Congress people, their Hinduism is a Hinduism of acceptance. Their Hinduism is a Hinduism that coexists with people of other faiths. And such Hindus would be ashamed of people lynching an innocent young man on the grounds of his religion, or the grounds of the cap on his head, or the grounds of the meat he is carrying or transporting, or the fact that he's herding cows, all of which have happened. These are 4 different cases in the world. So my answer is that don't we need, as Hindus, to reach out to those Hindus who, when their conscience is stirred, would agree with us and not with the Hindutva brigade. So, to my mind, the argument that we have Hindus too, Rahul Gandhi goes to Shiv temples, Shashi Tharoor writes a book saying why I'm a Hindu, every congressman refuses to disavow his faith. In the literal dictionary sense of secularism, that does not apply to us because we are religious in our personal life. The word secularism applies to the constitutional and civic life of India. But in our personal life, many of us are religious and are not ashamed of being religious. As religious people, however, we have to ask ourselves, what is our religion? What does it stand for? What does it represent? I want to neutralize their argument that because they go to temples, they are the only good Hindus. All of us would go in private and not talk about it publicly very much because the Hindu idea basically is that religion is an intensely personal matter. That it's between you and your idea of the divine, your idea of your maker, your idea of the cosmos, the Brahman that you're seeking to attain. Today, that by default cedes that entire space politically to the Hindutva right. And because as a genuinely believing Hindu, I don't agree with Hindutva. And I think Hindutva is a distortion of my faith. I want to challenge that.